can learn the best thing at school, but I think you learn the job by working, being driven, being ambitious. My name is Frank Haasnoot. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a Dutch pastry chef. I've been working in the pastry industry for more than 30 years. I remember as a young boy walking into my grandfather's bakery. He had a bakery in my hometown where I'm from. I walked in the bakery and my grandpa, he gave me like pastries to try and to eat. But it never really occurred to me that I wanted to be a pastry chef. But then when I was like a teenager, my parents like, Frank, get behind the Nintendo, make some money, do something useful with your life. At that time my uncle had a restaurant and I started to work in the restaurant, not being a pastry chef, just helping out. I had to make a career choice. I felt like, you know what, maybe it would be nice to work in a pastry. If you're talking about high-end kitchen, it's also very organized, very precise, but it's a bit more freestyle when it comes out to food, while pastry is more stylish, I think, and more rigid. That's why I choose pastry, and no regrets so far. I did some educations, pastry related, pastry schools. Of course, it's important to know the basics, learn the basic techniques, theoretical part of the industry, but I think pastry is a skill that I think you learn the best in the job. This is the most important thing, that you find the right spot where you can do the right job, with a chef that works there with the right mindset. I used to work at chocolate shops, restaurants, hotels, fine dining restaurants, cake shops, so I wanted to learn everything about pastry. So I did a lot of different things within the field. To have a good education is important, but I think in this industry the best chefs have the right mindset, the right drive. Even you can learn the best thing at school, but I think you learn the job by working, being driven, being ambitious, and working in the right places. And then take all that knowledge, take all those skills and try to give it your own twist. This takes time, but a lot of practice and skills and failing as well. Everything comes with a lot of time and ambition. But I worked in my uncle's restaurants and my uncle is very organized. He's very, he puts his tools exactly the same spot. So if I walk into his restaurant right now, I can do whatever I want because I still remember where the knives are, where the rolling pins are, where we keep the things. He was like this. When I remember as a young boy, it was a big kitchen. I had to scale the recipes and after a few years I could make pastries. And I was using the entire kitchen because, I used that table, that working table, that surface. But in the end of the day, I had to clean the whole kitchen by myself and it took me 1 hour. And my uncle paid me according to what I did for a job, but not how long I stayed at the job. And in the end of the day, he paid me and it's like, what? I work 10 hours a day. It's like, yeah, but you really work for like maybe 6 hours. So I pay you 6 hours. So I was bummed, I was annoyed. And then he told me, okay, this is how I want you to work. So he put on every working surface, because actually I only needed one working surface because my job was small, I was a teenager. So he gave me small things to do. So on every working surface, on every table, he put like just a pan, just a pot. And I wanted to put something on top of it. It was my reminder, don't use the table. And that helped me a lot because I did a lot of competitions in my life. Just in general, working clean, working organized, keeping your kitchen clean. And I always remember my uncle's kitchen that I work only the surface that I need and keep things as tidy and organized and put them on the same spot. This has really been helpful for me, and it's fun to talk about it because it brings back memories. So one of the things that I think is very important in our field is competitions. It depends how you look at it. I'm from the generation where I grew up without internet, without social media, and one of the only things that you could do to put yourself on the map was competitions. And I felt that competitions, you have to be very creative, you have to work hard. In the end, if you do the right things, it will give you the right results. For me, it was really, I loved competitions because I wanted to show the world just as good as anybody else. Me coming from Holland, it's not really a country for pastry. We don't have many chefs that are known in the industry for pastry. You go to France, for example, or Italy, or Japan, or Korea, they have very well-known pastry chefs. We do have good pastry chefs, but they're not known to the rest of the world. If I win the title of World Chocolate Masters, to be a world champion in pastry and chocolate, just the title, people understand when I go somewhere, they understand the level of it, that I'm not there to fool around, to mess around. Nowadays, if you look at things with social media, some of the chefs that are very well known and they are amazing at their job, maybe they did competitions, but not at that certain level. But you need nowadays, some of the guys that are on social media, they have millions and millions of followers and they do amazing things that you like competition level things. The thing with competitions is that if you do a competition, for example, the Chocolate Masters that I did, 20 contestants from all over the world, there's only 5% chance that you win. And even if you become number 2, I mean, you're good, it's good, but it's not number 1. So it's very hard to win that competition. But you know, if you go to social media, you post something today, you get instant response, and you know what you need to do to get a better response. If you look at the guys that are very big, they make beautiful videos, they do it with a certain flair, certain style, certain expertise. If you follow the same, because there's a few chefs that I know before and they do the same structure of videos and they get also millions of followers. But then you get the results without being the best. I mean, I'm not saying that guys are not the best, but I'm just saying that this is an easier platform nowadays to show your skill, to have something back in return. For me, I just did it to prove myself to the rest of the world as well. And of course, it gave me a lot of recognition, also jobs afterwards. I always had the passion to travel the world. I was already traveling the world before the competition, but after that it just became much easier. And yeah, so I mean, for me it was an important step in my life. When I was a young boy, I remember going to my uncle's house to read his pastry books. And there were not too many, but there were a few. When I was working at one of the better pastry shops, we received every stories but very little images about pastry. I took that image and I took the recipe and I tried it and I wanted to give my own touch to it. Over the years, I pushed myself with the inspiration I got. Because if I wanted to find beautiful things, I need to take a car. But you know, when I was 16, I didn't have a car. 18, you could drive, but I still didn't have a car. I could not easily go to Belgium to get inspiration or drive to Paris. So my source of inspiration was very little. So I tried to work on things myself. Try it, tweak it, work on the recipes. And I always push for something unique. I always try to push for something unique in my work. Depends a bit on the job, but you know, if I really can create something for myself, I try to find something that is unique in the product. And then I look, for example, nowadays, and I think this, my background plus the fact that I push for something unique, I think I created a style over the years that is recognizable or maybe copied, or I don't know, it's something that I think that is recognizable for me as a person. But my work is very diverse. This actually has grown, naturally like this. When I was young, I always had ambition to travel. When I was 20, I moved to New York for a year. But then after a year, I was like, okay, it's time to go back because I learned a lot and I miss my friends. I lived the lifestyle that I had in Holland, because in Holland we're pretty free at a young age to do whatever you want. And then I was 20, living in New York. And I couldn't go into a bar or party with people because I was not 21. I was not allowed to go to places. So I decided to move back to Holland. I always had the desire to live somewhere again. So one of my last jobs that I had in Holland, I was working for a chocolate decoration company. And then I had the urge again to really live in countries and to understand the culture and to get to know the people who live there. And I did it for quite a few years. It became very popular while I was working in the hotel industry. It was very popular to give master classes. And I think over the years I developed a style that is known for me. So I get invited to go to classes in Russia, in Asia itself, back in Europe, globally. And then I realized, okay, I got so much requests, I could actually quit my job. I filled up my agenda with all master classes. I quit my job, I left Hong Kong, moved back to Europe. I decided, let's not go back to Holland, but I had to move with the family to Barcelona, close to Barcelona, nice weather, good food. So we stayed there for a few years. In the end, we decided to go back to Holland, continuing the same thing, working in pastry, traveling for master classes. That was my main thing. I launched a book that time. Next to giving classes, I was also doing things like selling my chocolates in Japan at big food shows. And then COVID happened. My job was 90% of the time I was abroad. I was traveling. So of course COVID happened and I was not allowed to travel anymore. So I was like, you know what am I gonna do now? The first week is relax with the family. And then of course I saw my agenda being emptied, class, everybody cancelled. Frank, no more. Obviously after 1 week I realized I will not be traveling the rest of the year. What I'm gonna do now? I was selling chocolates in Japan. I think, you know what, I will do the same thing, but just online then. So because the whole world went online. And then a funny thing happened. I developed together with my colleague a tool to make these handmade decorations. And I was using this tool during my classes sometimes. My job was to sell classes, not tools. And then I had the web shop, and one of my friends, he filmed me while I was using the tool, and he tagged me on Instagram. And then I saw the comments underneath the tag, where can I buy the tool, where can I buy the tool, where can I buy it, where can I buy it? And I just opened the web shop, so I thought, I need to sell tools. So that's what I did. My brand and my web shop is related to my name, but not everybody knows Frank Haasnoot. I'm a part of BAKKIT, two of my partners, 3 people with all their expertise. It's great because I never really owned a bakery, and this is more like a cafe, coffee place, bakery, but we have many plans, and we just have a second location where we want to make a small production, spending a lot of time here with the colleagues, and it's actually nice to be part of a team again because I was quite individual for some time. Very diverse, and that's what I love. This is really typical me, and I'm happy with this life that I created for myself. My year, my month, my week is very diverse. I do my calls with my clients to prepare for my classes because I still travel. I just launched a new book, my second book. It's just out last week. When I'm not traveling, I'm here at BAKKIT, and we do also have a lot of requests for gluten-free and vegan. We do have some options for the gluten-free, vegan not yet, we're working on it. Understand what our customers want, and traveling all over the world to teach. And when I teach, for example, then I don't focus on this. I focus purely, mainly on inspiration, creativity, really on my products that I'm known for. It doesn't matter which city I go to. In every city there's always a good place that sells nice croissants. You know, this was something that was impossible to find 10 years ago. Even in the city of Rotterdam here, there's a few shops that do a very good job, including us. This was something that you couldn't find anywhere because people loved baked, flaky, layered croissants anywhere. But this is something that you couldn't find before. It's everywhere right now. I think people try to source their ingredients more local. If you look at restaurants, farm to table, whatever they call it, they're all like different names for all these things, bean to bar, you name it. So local source ingredients, we work more seasonal. These are things that actually started a few years ago in the restaurant scene, but you can see the same thing more in pastry. And people absorb it fast, and I think it's here to stay. I love to travel, so I will still continue to travel. A person that I cannot stay too long at home. When I know I'm traveling, I'm like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to go to Singapore, and then I'm going to go to this place. I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward. People who I meet, the food that I will eat, I just love it. So the traveling will always be